Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Cup of Joy. I'm your host, Ariana Joy Christie, and I am so glad that you are here. This is a space to inspire, to learn, to grow, and to challenge. Get ready to fill your cup and spread a little joy along the way. Okay, Shelby Hayle, intuitive business alignment coach, social media agency owner, and realtor, and real estate investor. Welcome to Your Cup of Joy.
Thank you so much for having me, Ariana. I am truly so excited to be here and chat about whatever is best served for your audience.
Yay, amazing. Well, I'm excited to dive deep into so many different aspects. I feel like we have so much to chat about. I love how you show up online, and I love that that's how we have connected. And now I just love that we can stay in contact. We've been able to see each other in person. We've been able to do a few little work things together. And I just think you are doing amazing things by sharing online. So thank you.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, of course.
I'm excited to get into it.
Amazing. Okay, so I want to start by saying, what does intuitive business alignment coach mean?
Yes. Okay. So first and foremost, I feel like this has kind of been the length of my journey in terms of mindset and diving in to figure out who I am and this like self-discovery has kind of led me to what this is, this intuitive alignment coach for businesses, brands, etc. I feel like we can easily go through the day-to-day of just about anything, whether it's in business, motherhood, parenthood, your relationships, and do it just mindlessly, where we're habitual. Okay. So I think that over time, and working with lots of different entrepreneurs and business owners and people at different stages of their journey has given me this perspective of what it really means to work towards anything, whether it is a goal in business or a goal in your personal life. And to me, it really is all about that alignment to yourself, that connection to yourself. And I, on my journey, have been able to see that where I shine is stepping in and helping people in their journey in a way of being an intuitive guide. So I can speak with people in a way, and I can't really explain it other than the fact that it's this knowingness, it's an energy. And the more I connect with a business owner or someone who's just on any part of their journey seeking to find themselves, is that I am almost this channel for these humans where I start to be able to feel things that they're feeling, but also get this vision from the universe of like what they need to hear in that moment in order to help them move the needle. And I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that the more that I do it, the more connected I am with some sort of divine guidance. And it's in the way of business. It's in the way of content strategy. It's in the way of helping people almost find a block without them knowing what is actually blocking them. And then all of a sudden it starts to spark this openness of people being like, okay, that lands. And then they start to ideate for themselves. They can start to see things more clearly and almost see the path for themselves if that block is simply brought up. So anyways, it's in short, it's this intuitive alignment to kind of your next path, your alignment to yourself. And if you are feeling stuck and not knowing where to go, it's kind of this superpower that I've been able to tap into where I can help pull that out of someone, and kind of help them map out that next stage and next steps without them having to do the heavy lifting if they're just not sure.
So interesting. Okay, how did this start? How did you realize that I have this intuition or this ability to share with people and help them on their journey? How did that start?
Yeah. So about 6 years ago, I dove in with my own mindset coach, who I initially hired when I was at a point in my life where I didn't know my next steps, but I honestly felt so connected to something bigger than me, something higher than me. And I just knew I was ready for different. So I felt aligned to this coach, and I dove in. And basically, it was an intensive 6 month program where you were working on yourself. So you kind of had an idea of where you wanted to go, but you didn't even really have to know. It was more so opening up your self awareness, figuring out who you really are, figuring out what ways you live your life habitually, and what habits align with who you truly are and what habits don't. Because there's certainly things that we do day to day that are actually for us and who we are. But I do also think that over time, we can just do things without asking ourselves and pausing if it really feels good. And then what was showing up in my life prior to this was, that like anxious, depressive appeared state. And what I've learned is that that was really just me not making decisions in alignment with who I truly was.
Mm,
This was kind of where it all started. I started then helping entrepreneurs do just about anything in their business, whether it was organizing their emails or creating some content for them. Sometimes I would be doing PR reach outs or helping them plan events. And it really got me into this world where I could see entrepreneurs and their pain points, and I could just like sense their energetic state based on where they were at. And then it related to the success of their business or where they were at. And I could see it right away where I was like, okay, this is what this entrepreneur is asking for. This is how they're currently feeling. And then I could see the change in what was happening when I was taking certain things off of certain entrepreneurs' plates.
hmm,
So I was like, okay, interesting. Like everybody needs different things and everybody's at different stages because everybody has different goals. But the overarching theme of like wanting to grow and to reach more people and to have a greater impact in the entrepreneurial world remained the same. Everybody kind of wanted that same overarching reach and impact, but where they were at on their journey was different. So as I kind of was on my own journey, I was really being conscious of how I felt when I was supporting these entrepreneurs
mm,
because certain things I would do to help certain entrepreneurs would light me up, and it would just fuel everything, and I could like just get all of this goodness kind of like pumped out to them and back into me. And then other
mhm,
stuff, I was like, ooh, this feels like something that's really important for them, but it's kind of a heavy lift because they're not actually in alignment with where they want to go. So I quickly started to see that the entrepreneurs who were feeling stuck, but didn't also really have this like passion, purpose, drive behind what they were doing, that was the situation where I was not really able to help them as best as I knew I could help.
mm,
And it wasn't because they were good or bad. It was just because working with someone in my mind became this thing where it was like they really like they've got to be aligned with where they're going, and then I know how I can best help in the task that I'm doing, whether it is emails or content or whatever, because then I can actually help resolve a pain point in a way that's like what they're needing to get unstuck in their business.
mhm,
So how this kind of guidance and intuition really started to come into play was every time I was working with a business owner who was aligned with their goals because they already had a coach, did the work, all the things, and their goals were built from this like really aligned place. Like I could help those entrepreneurs so fast. And I could be doing the same task for that person and the same task for another person who wasn't in alignment and hadn't like built something or wasn't moving towards something in a way that was like truly soul purposed. It was just easier to serve the other, like the other energy basically. And it
mhm,
wasn't because I didn't want to help, it was simply because there was not enough openness or awareness in that person's world to even be able to convey to me properly what it is that they wanted. They just knew they were like feeling icky and
Mhm.
feeling stuck. And at that time, I was in such a journey myself as well. So I had so much to learn. I had so much to learn about everything, and building brands and start having a team and building systems and unbuilding systems and redoing things. And so at that time in my life, I could see it so clearly, but I was like, I wasn't the person at that time to serve them in the way of getting unstuck from their mind.
Mhm.
But I certainly could see it. So very quickly, my client base, and I was actually still, freelancing at this time, but I had started the business and I was on maternity leave as well. But
Mhm.
I could see what was happening with the clients that were in alignment. And then I could also see what was happening when I was in alignment with the client as well.
Mhm.
I would be able to serve that client that was open and self-aware and, was really working towards something that they were so passionate about. I could serve them way better just as a human. Like, again, same skill set, but two different scenarios. They would
Mhm.
get way more out of me from this scenario. And so I think that being self-aware in that sense as well helped me know what I was able to best do. Like, I could just very quickly be able to kind of almost ideate the next step in like what would alleviate for that entrepreneur. But I just feel like it was an energy. Like right away, I was just like, okay, I know where they need to be headed. And a lot of the time, how I knew that this was more and more for me was it was their words. Like they were like, how did you even know? Like how did you know that that was what I needed? Or you built this in a way that I could have never even imagined, but this is exactly in alignment for what I needed. Or
Mhm.
and so right then and there, very early on, I was like, this is really interesting because when it was like that, it felt so easy. Like for me, I was like, yeah, of course. But what I realized is that it's not always that easy if the business owner isn't in alignment. So, yeah, I think that that's kind of how it started. And I really just got passionate about the changes that can happen when we are getting all of an entrepreneur. Like, yeah, and they are just operating in this way that even if they're stuck, they're so open and clear on where they want to be. They believe they can get there. They just don't know how, or they
Mhm.
just don't have the time, but they know they can see it. And so this translates into the social media agency side of things where I have talked to so many leads. Every business owner that gets on a discovery call with me who wants organic social media, I have had so many of these calls, and I'm like, why do you want social media? Like, why do you want to be on social media? And they're like, well, because I have to be. So that's a totally different answer than, because we simply do not have time to bring visibility to our brand. Like things are going, and we just want to like showcase what we're doing. And, our audience they already love us, but like we want to show more. So those are, again, two different states of the business, but also two different states of the entrepreneurial mind.
Mhm.
Um, and so what I found was it was really important to me that we onboard clients that we are actually able to serve. But there are specific states that I do believe people need different support in. Even if it is for content and social media management, there might be a different stage for people depending on your openness. And I think that it really does impact the ability for us to then support that client.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it's just one of these things where I get on a call and I can almost immediately now hear what they're saying. And based on their pain point and their energy and their ask, I can almost immediately be like, okay, you know what? I think we actually need to start with some foundational stuff. Maybe it's a systems thing, or maybe you just need some content coaching or strategy coaching. Maybe you do need the strategy piece and a freelancer. Or Maybe your business is at a point where an agency model is great. You do have the resources to capture the content. You do have the energy to be excited about your brand. Things are already flowing. We're not just turning on social media for a band aid fix. Like, there is support at every level, but I just really am wanting to make sure that it's an alignment for the brand and for us as an agency, because that's a time and energy and money investment. And I
Totally.
just want it to be best served for these people. I know the impact that it makes when an entrepreneur is able to fully show up for their brand. It not only serves the client that they intended to initially serve, whether it's a product or a service. But if the impact is actually that profound with what they've built, then they can grow a team, which that team can also be served really well, and their families and their friends, and then all of the people that they serve. So I really think that when we can support entrepreneurs and businesses and brands in this aligned way,
Mhm.
then the impact is literally infinite on everyone they serve, like everyone. And I can't help but to talk to an entrepreneur now and be like, I can hold you. Like, I know, like, I feel like I have the capacity to like hold it,
Mhm.
download it for them if they don't have the capacity, and then just be like, here it is. Like, let's just get you to the next place. Like, I don't know. And maybe it's this knowingness of doing the work myself, but I
Mhm.
just have so much capacity now to hold space for entrepreneurs who might not even know what is blocking them from like reaching the next level, because it's entirely possible.
That's so interesting and so incredible. And it's funny because I have obviously heard a lot about, seen, experienced different types of coaching and mentorship, and also simply content creation in this internet space. But hearing from like an energy perspective is so interesting to me. I don't know anything about it, but I do sometimes feel like a good, people say like vibe, or like, if a person is good or is aligned to you. And the way that I speak to that is about values. So I'm all about like value based decision making. What are things that you value? What is your why? Why are you doing these things? And as a mom and somebody who works and a career person, I'm trying to always make decisions based on my values. And I find myself, because I'm a people pleaser, sometimes I'll be doing something and I'll sit back and be like, what am I doing this for? Like, this doesn't align with anything that I value. And I've really had to reflect and be like, okay, now I'm making decisions on behalf of my family because I have young children and the things I do impact them. And so I have to really choose what things are actually value based for our family and align with who we are as a family. And so I think it's a little bit similar, like making decisions based on energy and based on values. And yeah, I do think that's so important.
Yeah, yeah. And as you're saying that, I mean, it's interesting because I can have a conversation with someone who I say, what do you want for your what do you want for your life? How do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what do you want your schedule to be day to day in a perfect
Mhm.
world where, time, money, nothing is an object. And like, there are many people who have actually lost their ability to dream. Their intuition has been quieted for so long that this, like, that gut feeling, the butterflies, the F yes and F no, like those
Mhm.
types of feelings, that is your body fully knowing what you need to do. But we have quieted that intuition for so long that it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to listen to me, then like I can't do this because these feelings are big. So
Totally.
I almost envision it, or portray it to the people that I'm chatting with about this, as it's this, you start in almost in your tummy, that gut feeling, if we have to like place it on a piece of paper, on a visualization. And if it's quiet, it's like we've turned it all the way down, so we're not listening to it. Why would it keep giving us these next steps and these intuitive knowingness checks if we're not listening to it? It's tired of giving you the signs, where you're not taking them. So what
Mhm.
I say to people first, if they can't visualize like a day to day that they desire or a goal, the first thing is to reignite that intuition.
Mm.
So what I would say to them is simply start asking yourself questions. So almost start to play best friend with this intuition, like wake it up. Be like, hey, I'm here again. Like, I know I've kind of done a crummy job of listening to you for a hot minute, but sometimes it's easier to just not listen to my intuition and do things that I know habitually work. Whether
Mhm.
it's actually what I want or not, it's comfortable because I don't have to do something different. So when you start asking yourself questions, what I mean by this is if you can, everything you do, ask yourself a question. Like I really mean that in the morning when you wake up, like whatever time it is on your alarm clock or your phone, whatever is your waker upper, be like, do I like getting up at this time of day? Like, or are you waking up at 7:30 being like, ugh, I woke up at 7:30 and like I know I should have woken up at 6:30 or 7 and like here we go again.
Mhm.
Right. And then so pausing in those moments, asking yourself if it feels good. If it feels good that you woke up at 7:30, great. Let's get up at 7:30. You might still be tired, whatever. Maybe you need to go to bed earlier, but it's like giving yourself the chance to actually think about each moment and if you feel good or not. And then when you look at your closet, you're like, okay, is your closet organized in a way that makes you feel good? Like it's literally every single part of your everyday and starting to dissect it. And in the beginning, it's not easy to ask yourself questions because you're sitting there being like, I don't know, like this is my closet every day. This is just how it has to be. But intuition awakening is basically allowing you for just 1 minute to be like, it would be really cool if I actually just picked my outfit the night before so that this wasn't even a thought. Okay, cool. Can we start to implement that habit then?
Mhm.
Or, really just trying to figure out what parts of your day feel good and what doesn't feel good. I know that I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs before who are like, I have to be at work at 8 in the morning every morning. And it just sucks that I don't ever get to take my kids to school. Okay, perfect. So like that's an icky feeling. That's your intuition telling you, I don't like this. I want something different. Cool. It might not just be as easy as tomorrow tell your boss you're going to go in later. You know what I mean? But these are things that you want to jot down where it's you're noticing. It's like, I notice that I don't like doing that and I'd rather do this. Write that down. Okay. So initially, when we're building this like goal or intuitive day, say,
Mhm.
it's more so about figuring out just what gives you like heart palpitations or like
Mhm.
a tight chest. Like literally ask your body how it feels. Because there are certain things that I say yes to, and I'm like, oh, yes. Like I literally can't wait to do that. And it's simply habit stacking of asking yourself those questions that you will be able to feel more and more. So in the beginning, it's like, what am I doing? I don't have time to ask myself questions. Like, I don't care. That is literally your body trying to get you to stop asking yourself questions because it knows that as soon as you do that enough, your intuition is actually going to make you take action.
Mhm.
Okay. And this like idea in your conscious or your subconscious mind of a safe day. It's just, you just know, even if it's not like the whole day you feel on top of the world, you're like, whatever, I'm doing the things. Like life isn't terrible. It's not like, I'm not like rejoicing every moment of my life, but like, whatever, that's life.
Yeah.
And so it can be easy to just not ever check in. As you start to check in, the next stage in that, what I say to people is take action on something that has come to your thoughts. For example, if you go to Tim Hortons to get a coffee every morning, but you're like, you check yourself and you're like, I actually want to go to a local coffee shop this morning. I really want to, like, I know that's a little bit more expensive. I know I'm going to have to find parking, but like, I would really love like a local coffee. And even though it's more expensive, I just want to feel that way. So then you simply do the thing. Okay. So, and this is where it starts to actually make changes in your body is once you've asked yourself a question, you've become self-aware of like, I think it would actually feel better to do that. And then you do that. What it's then affirming in your body is you get to experience this feeling of like, how does it feel to do the thing I really wanted to do instead of doing the thing that I know to be like safe and easy. Okay. So like the coffee thing is a simple example, but it's also then saying yes to something that you know you really want to say yes to. And maybe you're going to have to get some extra childcare or call in your spouse for an extra couple of hours when, you know, usually you're home or something, or whatever that looks like. But actually do the thing that you've allowed yourself to hear. Okay.
Mhm.
That comes with the ability to feel worthy, okay, of doing this thing. Okay. So that part of it dives deep into mindset. And I won't kind of go down that path too deep right now, but it's more so about when you then go to take action. So just to note, to be aware of this part, you've unlocked the intuition. It's told you want to do something instead of what you normally do. And you're like, okay, today's the day that I'm going to do that instead, whatever it is. Perfect. But then all of a sudden, I want you to try to be aware of all of the thoughts that come right after you say, okay, I'm going to go get the local coffee shop coffee. Okay. And it's, oh my gosh, like, am I going to have enough time now? Do I have to leave earlier? Okay, now I really have to wake up earlier in the morning. Is that going to be expensive? Should I really be getting expensive coffee? Da, da, da. That is all of the chatter that's trying to get you to just do the thing that's good. Okay.
Mhm.
And until we just do the thing and be like, no, like sit down. I hear you, but like, we're going to make this happen. I want to do this. And then once you do it, it literally allows your body to then acknowledge that feeling and feel safe in what you've just done, because it's like, oh my gosh, I experienced that and it was good. Like, wow, I got the thing that I wanted and it felt safe now. So now all of a sudden your body has had the chance to experience what it feels like when you do something that you actually wanted to do. And it literally imprints on your neurons, like, well, that will again table that, but it actually then creates the ability for you to have these pathways open up that you're like, oh, it is safe to do something different. Okay. So that you can see how that scale, if you do something like that in business, is going to have a great impact on like business results. Okay.
Mhm.
And I think that, you know, these are the types of things that we simply just don't allow ourselves typically to think about, to dream about. And when it comes to entrepreneurs or creators or influencers or like anybody in any space just wanting something different, it's simply allowing yourself to dream about it. And then the tricky work, I would say, would be quieting those voices that are telling you you're not worthy, you're not deserving, I shouldn't do this because of this and this and this. And that's where it comes in, where I do the mindset piece of this alignment, where we actually can identify those blocks and then implement things that can reverse or undo that belief pattern.
Mm.
Because what happens is, if you don't believe you can have something, even if you've unlocked it, you're like, okay, this would be a really cool dream day. But then all the million things that come after that telling yourself why you shouldn't or can't, those are the things that we need to quiet just for a second so that you feel like you can actually start taking action. And it's actually quite simple to quiet those things, because essentially, once we can get a desire it from your conscious mind into that like subconscious part of your being, when you like believe it's your truth to have a certain goal, whether it's in motherhood, relationships, business, whatever, when you believe that that is for you, that's when we can elicit this emotional connection to the feeling of the life you'll have when it happens.
Mm.
And then this is how your body takes action. If we can't get an emotional connection to happen to where you want to go, that's the piece that like will stop someone from moving forward. So when people are moving towards, and this is how it comes full circle, a business owner is moving towards a goal that isn't actually aligned at that soul level. They're just like, oh, I should probably be making $1 million a day like my dad did, so I should. Or
Mm.
I need to work hard because I'm not worthy if I don't work hard. All of the things. If what they're moving towards is either not clear to them, and non existent, or not in alignment with who they are, Everything that falls underneath that level will not, it just will not flow. You can only fake it till you make it for so long, okay, in business. And can you do it? Absolutely. But this is why it's such a grind for people. And I
Mhm.
want to just offer the thought for a minute, and this might make people feel one way or the other. And actually, I encourage you to check in how it feels when I say this, is that like your version of success, whatever that is, like big, big, big dreams that you are just like, I have no idea how the heck that's going to happen.
Mhm.
It's like, it actually should feel easy. It actually gets to feel easy. Your dream life gets to feel easy. And why I say this and why I believe this at my core is that when you build a life that is actually meant for you, when you build this idea of a life that is actually meant for you, it is coming from a place that is so connected to this person. Like you've taken maybe some pieces and parts of many other people's lives that you just adore. And instead of feeling icky about seeing someone else's life and then feeling icky about yours because of it, you're simply taking those parts and building something that you want to move towards. And you can't help but to make that happen if you've built it that way. And it's really hard for leaders to be able to convey to their team what they need them to do and how they need them to show up and where they're going if they are not in that full alignment. So I've now seen over the last 6.5 years working with brands and business owners and entrepreneurs in this way, the destruction of things that happen within their businesses and their personal life and their health and their family life if they are not simply moving towards a goal that is meant for them. And that is so much bigger than that statement itself. But it really is that simple. So there is a lot that comes with the nuance of working towards something that's aligned for you and
Mhm.
actually knowing what that is and getting there. But there's tangible steps to make that happen, and that's where I come in. But as soon as that business owner is dialed into where they're going, like everything else is a done deal. You like randomly start getting employees that you're like, how is this happening? Like, I didn't even put out a resume and I definitely needed you. Or you land clients that you're like, this is just too good to be true. But
Mhm.
it's not. Nothing happens by coincidence when you're in alignment or not. And so I do see that, the services that I do in the agency and this coaching and alignment piece and that it actually goes together so beautifully because once we have a business owner kind of like dialed in, like that social media part is honestly just like easy peasy all day long because we can see everything about where you're headed, and it's so much easier to create organic content for a business owner who is in full alignment. Does that make sense?
It totally does. Yeah. And I think what you said too about success being different for everyone, I fully believe. Like sometimes we want things because other people say like we should. I see all these reels all the time about how to make six figures. Well, who says that that's what everybody wants, right? So I think that we have to really think about what success is for us in all areas of life. And then I also think too that paying attention to how it feels is important because sometimes I feel like I should want something. So I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what I want. And then something else happens and it actually doesn't feel the way you think it might. So, an example of this is this summer, I had a nanny lined up for the summertime for August, and I was going to work all of August. We took a bunch of July off. And so, August, I was going to really dive into my work. And our nanny fell through for that month. And I got the text message and I thought, okay, like normally this would make somebody like spiral. Like I should be panicked. And I remember telling someone and they were like looking at me, like waiting for me to freak out. And for some reason it felt good to me. Like I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
Like all the stress that I was holding of not spending the time with the kids and not creating these memories and not doing these things, like that's actually what I wanted. And because the world has made me think that I should want to focus on my business and, have somebody else take care of my kids in that moment, I just so badly wanted that month with my kids, and I had never felt so relieved in my life. It was so weird, and so it really made me be like, "Okay, my body and my mind reacted in this way. I should just dive into this. And I did. And it was so beautiful and so wonderful. And I did have a good, like, I still worked and I also spent time with the kids and we did have some help. But it just was this really, instead of me focusing on having 40 hours to work a week for that month, I really was like, okay, I can make this work. Like I can work after hours. I have flexibility. It's funny how we have a perception in our head of how it's supposed to be and how we should react. And when we're focused on that versus how we actually feel, um, it's just interesting to me.
It is, and that is truly a perfect example. I love the point that you touched on as well, where you had shared the story with someone, and it was almost like there was like waiting for some sort of reaction,
Yeah.
and then you simply didn't have one because you're like this that is the full alignment where you're like, okay, it is what it is, and obviously hard things happen. I am certainly not
Totally.
here being like, oh, your days are going to be perfect when you're in
Yeah.
it's just not going to happen. But here's the life that you can have when
Mhm.
you are simply starting to be in alignment with who you are, is that in that moment you were able to be like, okay, like, you know what? Maybe this is the universe telling me that I just need some time with my kids and with myself, and everything's going to work out. So it's this perception shift, perspective shift, feeling shift of the universe is only giving you what you can handle and also the path that you need at that time. And, I really have started to look at it, even though it feels woo, to be honest, like this wasn't me 6, 7 years ago. It really wasn't. But like, I'm now looking at the universe as like, the universe wants you to get to where you're going. Like, you were placed on this
Yeah.
timeline for a specific reason. And for me, I'm like, our purpose in life as humans, I believe, just in general, is to grow and to live in ease of what we want to do with our lives, like who we are, and just be authentic. Like, just
Mhm.
be our authentic self, whether that's silly or passionate, and just being okay with who we are.
Totally.
And I think in that moment, that's so beautiful because it's not that the hard things aren't going to happen for people who are in alignment. It's that you can handle it differently.
Mhm.
That's all it is. And so, that something that's like, okay, well, that's going to change a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, I have some feelings about this in the moment. So, and maybe this was you or not, but if you were like gonna get into panic or whatever, you could allow yourself to feel it. But then if you had been feeling different,
Mhm.
and kind of maybe heightened instead of what you were, it would be just giving yourself the space to be like, okay, can I think about or write down whatever feels best for you, why I'm feeling so anxious about that? Well, because
Mhm.
now I can't get done this and I'm going to have to change this and da da da. It's like, okay, cool, valid. Like, we got to get that out because those are all tangible things. But at the end of the day that it's like, okay, well, what is the lesson here? There's
Yeah.
obviously something that was not meant to happen, or that will happen as an opportunity now that this has shifted. So it's more so giving yourself this space to say, okay, what can I do now to shift this? Do I have to get some childcare for some of those tangible things? Perfect. Let's start there, right? There's a couple things that were non negotiables, and I'm going to actually just figure out those few things first.
Yeah.
From there, you just allow yourself to walk through it.
Yeah.
And I think that one final point to that is that we cannot generate, any human can, we cannot generate good, helpful ideas for ourselves or anyone else if we're in this like elevated, panicked, anxious, negative state. Okay.
Mhm.
So your best ideas are not going to come to you to like figure the things out when you're in a state that is just clouded and spinning. If I am in that state for any reason, I simply do not make decisions and I will voice it. So that's
Mm.
the difference between me now and me then. I still have moments of anxiety and doubtfulness, and that happens all of the time. And except for now, I'm so aware of it that I simply voice it. So whether it's to my kids, to my spouse, to my team, it's not this like, especially with the team, there's obviously that business,
Yeah.
leadership role as well, but it's in a way that's just being clear, and clear is kind. So, I think that that awareness level of what you need, you could have, in that moment, if you hadn't felt good, an example of that would have been saying to your partner, like, hey, the nanny just canceled for all of August. And like, I'm feeling some kind of way. Like, could we sit down tonight as a team? I just need your support to like look at this calendar with me, look at my calendar, look at your calendar and see what we can like adjust just so I can feel a little bit better about this. Like, I know it's going to work out, but like, this feels really heavy right now and I can't hold it. Like, so
Mhm.
do you think we could set aside half an hour tonight to do that? And then they say, yep, sure. Or you know what, tomorrow morning works better for me. I happen to have this tonight. Like, but it's that communication piece and acknowledgement that then will quiet the anxiety, say, of something coming up. And as
Yes.
soon as you can shift that anxious state, so even just voicing it and then saying, okay, we'll make a game plan tonight, but for now, I can actually quiet that. Then
Mhm.
the rest of your day doesn't have to be affected by that one thing. Do you see what I mean? So then you can continue to get back into alignment and make decisions throughout the day from that state instead of from the state of receiving the text message, because you're
Yeah.
still going to have to do your whole day, but it's either going to come from the energetic state of panic because of August
Yeah.
or from this energetic state of like, oh shit, well, we're going to tackle that later tonight, but now I can be clear headed. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Totally. I love that clear is kind. Like, to me, that's so true and so impactful. And I think the communication piece is huge, especially when you're surrounding yourself with other people. Like, one of my huge values is obviously family. And so I can't have that value fulfilled or be making decisions based on that value if I'm not also communicating that to my family. So I love that. Yeah, clear is kind
Yeah.
into that. I want to talk a little bit too about how the world has made this hustle be like trendy. It's like you should always be busy. If you're not busy, you should feel bad about it. Like, you should be doing something productive, like never stop. It's just this big, like, I don't want to say trend, but kind of.
Mhm.
And I've been trying lately, not very successfully, but trying to slow it down and to do what feels good, and to know that slowing it down actually is productive, even though it doesn't seem like it in society's version of being productive. It kind of is, and that falls into this whole thing of self-care. And why I started this podcast is because I just want people to know that doing something for yourself and filling your cup actually is helping every other aspect of your life. You're going to show up as a better version of yourself in your relationship, in your family, in your work, and your friendships, all of that. And it's not selfish. And so I'm trying to think about slowing down and how to do that. What are your thoughts on this hustle lifestyle that's so glamorized and just so promoted in the world now? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great thought, and it really is. It's happening everywhere, and I think for the people that are starting to see and feel that it doesn't feel good, this is actually a great time to listen to that intuition, because it's like, if
Mm,
you know, if even you just saying that and recognizing it is some sort of level of awareness in your body, even though
yeah.
you've already started taking some action towards it. But if that awareness is something that you're just coming into or on a journey of, I mean, your body is clearly telling you that you are ready for some sort of shift. And I think that first and foremost, that acknowledgement of saying, like, okay, is hustle culture really for me? And like, what does that also mean? What the heck does hustle culture mean? Like,
Yeah.
I use the term often. I'm not saying this because I think it's a flex. And then I'll like say it like,
Interesting.
because there are some times when I have been up until 2, 3 in the morning getting stuff done for work. However, I precede it with, I'm not saying this is a flex, because I don't I don't think that that's healthy, and I don't want other people to think it's healthy. However, it aligns for me sometimes when my daughter has her birthday and I get to pull her out of school at 11 a.m. to take her for her favorite lunch and get a croissant from her favorite place. And it's so overpriced, but she loves walking downtown with me. She wants to get her nails done and I take her for a mani and a pedi. And like, basically I don't work then for like that 11 to 3:30 period because I'm with my daughter. But then I have to get some stuff done at night between that time because I do have a job and a team, and the things have to get done. So
Yeah.
I think more so this hustle can be perceived more as like someone is literally just like working till 3 a.m., busting their butt just to get to their goals. And for me, honestly, it's actually a few parts where if you're hustling that much, like pause and ask yourself if you really like that. Okay. There are people out there who are just like, no, I'm addicted to the hustle and I can't, I want to work 18 hours a day. And like, I just love it. I
Mhm.
would probably, if I was sitting in a room with him alone, I'd be like, okay, but like, why? Why do you think you
Yeah.
have to do that? And then I'd like really dig deep and I'd probably start to try and unlock things that are deeper in them because it's a value thing. It's a worth thing. If you
Yeah.
think you have to hustle that hard to be successful, um, well, it's just not the truth. And I actually do think that once people start to really see that slowing down and embodying who you really are, like that gives you the chance to think way more clear. And if your brain isn't just like so tired and spinning and spinning and spinning, like even when I say that, it's like, how can you possibly generate your best ideas when you're like that? You can't.
Yeah.
Are there seasons or days that are just going to be busy or that you're staying up until 2 in the morning?
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that day was still so in alignment for me because I did everything I wanted to do with my daughter for her birthday. And I actually was energized in the middle of the night because I was like, oh, like I wouldn't trade this for the world, that flexibility on that day, right? I
Yeah.
really wouldn't. And I think it's more so about doing things in alignment for you. If hustling on a day or a couple of days feels good for you because you've got this massive event coming up and it's just like this has been your goal for like 3 years and it's coming to fruition and you're lighting up and you've got all the support but you're excited about it, sure, that's okay as long as you're checking in with yourself. But I think it is giving yourself the time to determine what success is to you,
Mhm.
because if someone looks at someone's life, whether it's on social or face to face or whatever, you're having a conversation with someone and they're like sitting there thinking that they are less than or not worthy of, or oh my gosh, must be nice for them, all of those thought patterns, that is so much more about them than anything. And it's actually this beautiful opportunity to be like, wait, what do I like about their life? Like,
Mhm.
what do I like about that? Do I like that she gets to spend time with her kids and bring them to school? Or do I like that she has this team? Do I like that she goes to events? Like, what about that do you like? What is in alignment for you? Because you also have to be willing to do what it takes then to get that. And you don't have to be. You don't
Mhm.
have to be. And I think that people, um, in terms of trying to figure out if you should be doing more, like I need to be doing more to feel worthy, like it really is more so about what is in alignment for you and feeling confident enough that that is good enough. Like
Yeah.
if being able to work for 20 hours, let's say it's a 9 to 5, like let's say you work Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, but you've got Tuesdays off to like reset your family stuff and Fridays to do your self care while the kids are in school, and you work 20 hours or whatever, and that works for you. You don't have like, that's perfect. Like,
Mhm.
that's great because that's version of success. Like, maybe that life is giving you the amount of money you need, the time you need, and then you still get to do all the things you want for your family or yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it really is more so about that. We don't have to feel like we have to do everything.
Agreed.
Um, one
I
quick thing
definitely
that I want to add is that to drive this point home, actually, is that I went to a networking event on the weekend that was pretty masculine dominant. Like, and even the females in the room, we were, it's just that like big energy. It was big energy. And it was the first event that I'd been to in person that was mostly masculine energy. And there was a couple of conversations in particular that was interesting because most of the males in the room, oh, I just was like, oh, this ignites this whole other thing inside of me because all of these men just, it felt like they all had something to prove to each other, not even to themselves. And like these guys are successful guys, right?
yeah.
Like the guys who have so many businesses and the nice cars and the real estate. And so like on paper, they're the success. But like, oh my gosh, a couple of them were like, just like, they were like trying to speak to the group in the most positive way, but it's like, if you just like don't want to do something, like, and it's hard, it's just like, just make the decision, just like do it. Like, even if it's hard, just like, you just got to do it. You just got to work hard. You just got to make it work, and eventually it'll work. And I was sitting there, I was like, oh God. And I actually like, I at one point had a visceral reaction. Like my heart was beating outside my chest because I was like, these guys think that they have to work so hard. Like, and I was sitting beside Jordan and I was like, I have to say something. And he's like, oh, okay. I was like, and so like I put up my hand and I was like, okay, do you really believe that you have to work hard in order to achieve everything you're achieving? Like, do you think that you have to be this way in order to achieve that? Because like I just want you to know that it's safe to slow down. Like you're safe to slow down. And the room was just like, it was not like everyone was like, I was just so taken back. And I was like,
Yeah.
do you know that like you are actually worthy of having everything you desire? You have all the skill set, all the resources to get there, but it doesn't have to be this hard.
Mm.
He's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, like, it just has to be in alignment. Like, are you building your dream based on what you think you should be doing or what you want to be doing? And he's like, well, like, someone has to support my family. And I was like, there it is. Right. And that's okay. Like, but it was this interesting thing because in that moment, I was like, oh, it's like that. Like, they think they have to. And we as a society think we have to, but we actually can get so much more done if we turn in, like so much more, because it won't take us so much energy to generate the perfect next action step if
Mhm.
we're tuned down, like tuned in, but
Yeah.
like down a little bit. uh,
Yeah, and I think too, hard work versus it feeling difficult are different. Like, it does take hard work. To be successful, you gotta work hard. You gotta do the things that you gotta do, and it's a grind sometimes. But like you said, sometimes if you're having the flexibility to spend the day with your kids or spend the day doing something you love and then work hard at night, like, then that's okay.
totally.
But when it's always feeling difficult and not ever feeling good to do that hard work, then that's where it's like, okay, maybe we got to reflect on this a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me. What is your favorite way to practice self care? Is it something that you participated in? Is it something that's important to you? How do you do it? Because I think it's important to note that it looks different for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I think right now in this season, self care for me is saying yes to conversations with people in my life or spending time with people in my life that I love so much. That and also I love Pilates right now. I love it so much. I was a CrossFit
Aw.
girly for quite some time and I still adore CrossFit. But I think in that season, that like high intensity workout was serving me. And that was like a self care where I was like able to turn off and just like dig in. And that was great until it wasn't. I like broke my foot and that morning I actually the universe was like, don't get up, like don't go. I was going to 6 a.m.s like at least 3 times a week for like a year and a half, 2 years straight. I was doing
Oh my gosh.
nutrition coaching with someone. And that morning I was like, just don't go. And then I could hear my body be like, no, that is an excuse. Get up. You know how to do this. It doesn't matter that it's 5:30 in the morning. Like you have a responsibility to yourself. Da da da. Like stay committed. Broke my foot that morning. And
Oh my gosh.
ooh, well, that was the universe's way of being like, I told you to stay in bed, and you were like, no. So that was like early last year, and now I've been doing Pilates, and honestly, I like this. This isn't to sound good or bad, and I hope it doesn't come across that way, but it's just like I feel like when you actually do what's in alignment in terms of self-care, like you get so much more out of it. Like I can do Pilates once or twice a week if that, and my body feels so strong, like way
Mm.
stronger than it did when I was doing CrossFit. And that's okay. Like it's just I think it's just honoring what serves you best. So Pilates and saying yes to just time with people. Like Friday, my friend reached out. I could tell that she needed someone. She's like, hey, do you have time for coffee today? Like, I know things are busy. Like, and I was like thinking of all the things that I needed to do that day before the weekend. And in that moment, I was like, no, like, pause and just go. Like, I feel like your friend. I feel like she needs me. And also, I feel like I need her. So, like,
Aw.
taking that time, yeah. And it turns out we both really needed that, like, hour and a half, 2 hours together. And then, so I think honoring that is my best form of self care right now is just like slowing down when there's those opportunities to connect with people that like you love so much and you usually just put on the back burner
Yeah.
because it doesn't have to take up like your whole night or whatever.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's easier to just be like, "Oh, no, my schedule's full."
totally.
But I think when you really prioritize the time or make it happen, it's just such a blessing. And it's interesting to me because I think a lot of the time people are like, "Oh, don't you want time by yourself? Like, shouldn't you want to just like, I don't know, go to a spa or like, just be alone?" They say that after babies too, like don't go to the person's house. They should have alone time. To me, alone time is like the worst. Like I hate that. I want to be with people that I love. To me, that's more relaxing than staying in a bed by myself looking at the ceiling thinking, what am I doing? So I think it is knowing who you are and what you like and again, what you value, what feels good for you because it doesn't have to be the same as everyone else, you
No,
know?
no, and I think it's just also different in different seasons and just
Yes.
allowing yourself to like ebb and flow with what you need in different seasons.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, because it can be easy to just be like, "Oh, this feels good." And then all of a sudden it might not, and it's okay for it to change. Like
Yeah.
I would say that that is the part where your energy has like shifted. It's ready for something different. But again, honoring it and just
Mhm.
understanding what it is and why. Um, and yeah, being able to communicate that with the people in your life. My friends, yeah, my circle is honestly very small, and
Yeah.
I do lean into them, like you said, with being alone. If I'm alone, I'm just gonna work. I'm gonna work.
Yes.
I'm gonna and like that's okay too. But like, no, I like my friend. I need my friends to hold me accountable. Like, you know what I mean?
Agreed.
And again, as long as it's stuff that you like doing. But oftentimes, if we are hustling so much, we're actually probably not doing the things that we actually want to be doing, like for our
Totally.
brand or, whatever, or for our kids or
Mhm.
just for ourselves. Like, because you forget if you're hustling way too much, you forget what it is that you even want to do.
Yeah, it's so true. I couldn't agree more. Well, I love that. I think self-care is so important, and sometimes when we think about it from a certain level, it seems like almost unattainable. Like, no, I can't take the day off work. I don't have a vacation day to take or whatever, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be like just sipping your coffee hot for a few minutes, or it can be calling a friend for, a 5-minute FaceTime if you don't have the few hours in the day to spend with them, but it can be those little things that just fill your cup and make you feel good, and I think that's just so important to note is it doesn't have to take a lot of time or energy or money. It's just doing something that makes you feel good.
That is such a great point to kind of drive this all home is that
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be this like big glamorous thing. Like those mundane moments in between, and sitting with it and being grateful for it. Like
Totally.
sounds so cliche, but like it
Yeah.
with that. Like when I was working that night, I actually did. I was like, oh, this is so awesome. Like in that moment, just I was like, I am tired, but like this is such a good day. And I think like giving yourself that moment to be like, this doesn't look glamorous. It's like 2 in the morning and I really gotta sleep. But like that's not glamorous. But in that moment, I was actually grateful for that, right? And
Mhm.
acknowledging it. I think those are the things that start to allow you to see like there's so many beautiful parts of our day. And we don't have to hold on to the bad. I think that's one of those things that it's easy to do because then it's like, oh, the world just wants to deliver this to me today. But if that's what you're thinking about, you're going to get more of it. You have to be able to like shift from that negative state um, fast. And the only way I believe that people can do that is if they're honoring themselves. So if you're truly
Totally.
looking in, you actually can move from that negative state. You can say to yourself, like, this is crappy, but like literally the only way out is that this will eventually work out. Like,
Mhm.
eventually, one way or the other, what's the worst that could happen? It's like, well, what's the best that could happen? If you just let it go, like we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And then you will be able to generate ideas that help you figure it out way faster. Um, and yeah, I think being able to know that, I just want to make sure that I say this is I'm someone who wears a lot of hats. Okay. So, like, I have so many people in my inbox that are like, how do you do it all? This and this. And I'm just like, I'm reading them and I'm like, oh, I want to do a little bit better job at showcasing the how, because my answer is always I don't do it alone. Like, how do I do it all? I
Yeah.
don't. I
Yeah.
have people supporting me, whether it's my therapist who's not actually doing my to-do list, but I have people supporting my family. I have people supporting my team. And what I'm trying to do is simply do the things that I know I'm best at. So
Yeah.
yes, it seems like I'm holding all these things and I'm hustling and I'm doing all the things, but I'm not actually doing everything that it takes to get there, right? I'm not doing all of the mortgage applications for a flip house. I'm providing a certain amount of things, and then I'm doing the checkpoints, or
Mhm.
or we have support at home in certain areas where it feels good. And
Yes.
that allows me to wear multiple hats and do it all, but I only do the parts that I'm like really good at in each of
Mhm.
them. And that's why I think they can continue to grow, because I'm not placing my energy in things that I'm not aligned with.
Yeah.
Have support in the areas that I'm just like not the best at. And I'm
Totally.
okay with that. There's no ego about it. Like, I'd rather someone else do it if they're better at it.
Yeah, agreed.
Way. Yeah,
Yeah, and then just spending the time focusing on the things that you enjoy the most. I'm all about that too, and I think it ultimately it keeps everyone happy because there are people who love to do the things that I don't love to do. And
totally.
so, yeah, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
To end, Shelby, I usually do some rapid fire questions. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, what is the dream client for you?
Oh my gosh, the first thing that comes to mind, okay, the social media agency is the Toronto Blue Jays. I want to do
Cool.
organic social media for the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't
All
know.
right, Jays, you heard it here.
I like it.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Ooh, go-to song right now.
Oh, it's still I Like It Like That by Nate Smith.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And dream travel destination?
Australia.
Ooh, cool. Well, thank you so much, Shelby, for joining us, and for sharing all of your insight. It was incredible, and I'm just so thankful for you being here. Where can people find you?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Ariana. It's always a pleasure. So on social, my main personal brand account is at Shelby Hayle, Hayle. And then from there, you'll see in my bio kind of the subsidiaries where it's the agency at Hayle Creative Co., at Shelby Hayle Real Estate is my real estate page. And then we've also got at Eco Bay Chalet, which is the short-term luxury rental that my husband and I built last year for short-term stays for large groups, retreats, events. So that's kind of our hub.
Yay, amazing. Well, thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Your Cup of Joy. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. And if this episode resonated with you, or if you've been loving this show, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you are listening. Your support helps the podcast grow, it helps it reach more people, and it means the absolute world to me. So keep filling your cup with joy, and I will see you next week.